This is 3.7b of geometry. Now we're going to look at information, either if they give us numbers or they give us a graph, and we're going to write the equation that goes with it. So, starting with A here, I'm told that the slope is 3 and the y-intercept is -5. So m equals 3, b equals -5, and all I need to do is to plug it into my slope-intercept form. So y equals, and if you need to, write it out and then erase it as you go through. So instead of m, I'm going to write a 3. Instead of b, I'm going to write a -5. And then to clean things up, I will change that plus and that minus into just a minus, x minus 5. Alrighty, I'm given an equation, or they want to know what the equation is, through the point -1, 5, with a slope 2. So now we're talking about our point slope form. So here's our generic equation. If I look at my point, I can label it if I need to, x1, y1. So my x1 is -1. My y1 is 5, and my m is 2. So again, if it helps, erase it as you go. So instead of y1, I'm going to plug in 5. Instead of my m, I'm going to put a 2. And instead of my x1, I'm going to put a -1. Again, to make it look nice, I'm not going to leave it as minus a negative. I'm going to switch and make that into a plus sign. So equals 2 times x plus 1. Okay, so let's try our got it problem. The first one is slope-intercept. I'm told that my slope is -1/2, so m equals -1/2. And my y-intercept, my b, is equal to 2. So y equals mx plus b. If it helps, erase as you go if you need to, if that'll make it easier. So instead of my m, I'm going to plug in -1/2. Instead of my b, I'm going to plug in 2. And there's my equation. If we look at the second one there, what is an equation of the line through the point -1, 4 with slope -3? So I'll label my x1, y1. So x1 is equal to -1, y1 is equal to 4, and my slope, my m, is -3. So here's my general form. I'm going to go through and erase in here. Instead of y1, I'm going to plug in and put 4. Instead of my m, I'm going to plug in -3. And instead of my x1, I'm going to plug in -1. Again, I don't want to leave that as a negative or minus a negative. So I'm going to clean it up. Everything else stays the same, but those two negatives turn into a positive. And there's my equation. Okay, we can also come up with an equation by looking at a graph. So I'm going to put this into point slope form. To put it into point slope form, I need a point and I need my slope. I have 2 points on these lines. I can choose whatever one I want. Usually people like to choose the positive ones because we don't usually like working with the negatives. So I'm going to take that point 3, 5. So this is my x1, y1. And to figure out my slope, I'm going to start at this bottom point and count up and over to the top point. So if I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my slope is 6/5. And then I can plug this in to our formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So my y1 is 5. My m is 6/5. My x1 is 3. And there's my equation. If instead I use the other point, So if I use -2, -1, that's my x1, y1. My slope is still the same. It's going to look a little different. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I would plug in, for y1, I'd plug in -1. Again, for my m, I'm going to plug in 6/5. And for my x1, I'll plug in -2. Clean it up, change those minus and negatives into pluses. So this turns into y plus 1 equals 6/5 times x plus 2. They look different, right? They don't look like they're the same equation. This guy and this guy, though, actually are the same equation. If I would distribute it and rearrange it to get it into slope-intercept form, they will be exactly the same equation. So just because they look different doesn't necessarily mean you have the wrong answer. Okay, and finally, horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal lines are the ones that go left to right, like the ground, and vertical lines are the ones that go up and down. If a line crosses the y-axis, right, this guy right here crosses, here's my y-axis, right, crosses the y-axis. My equation is going to be y equals something. If it crosses the x-axis, my equation is x equals something. And then it's whatever number it crosses at. And if I'm looking at a point, I can also look at the x value. So this is x equals 2. And over here, this is y equals 4. And it also crosses here at 4. Oops. And then if we wanted to look, if you're just given a point, so in our got it problem down here, we're given 4 and -3. And they want to know what are the horizontal and vertical lines. So I'm going to have one that's x equals and one that's y equals. My x value here is 4. So this is x equals 4. My y value here is -3. So this is y equals -3. And there's your homework.